In this gospel reading for the Feast of the Epiphany, we have perhaps arguably one of the most recognizable passages in Scripture. We have the three wise men, magi or king, whatever you prefer, bringing the Christ child their gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Now, we've seen this depicted in pictures and Christmas cards, and we've statues and crib sets, Christmas after Christmas. And we've heard the story in numerous Christmas carols. We three kings of Orient are bearing gifts we traverse so far. Or then entered in, the wise men three fall reverently upon their knee and offered there in his presence their gold, their myrrh, and their frankincense. So gifts. We've all given them and we've all received them. But what is a gift? What makes a gift a gift? Here are some interesting things that people have said and written about gifts and gift giving. St. Francis of Assisi, it is in giving that we receive. And this quote, sometimes attributed to Winston Churchill, we make a living by what we get. We make a life by what we give. Pope Francis, God never gives someone a gift they are not capable of receiving. Martin Luther King Jr., life's persistent and most urgent question is, what are you doing for others? Mother Teresa of Calcutta had three things to say about giving. Give, but give until it hurts. It's easier to give a cup of rice to relieve hunger than to relieve the loneliness and pain of someone unloved. It's not how much you give, but how much love you put into giving. John Bunyan, you have not lived today until you have done something for someone who can never repay you. Anne Frank, no one has ever become poor by giving. Erich Fromm, what does one person give to another? He gives himself. Of the most precious he has, he gives his life. And a woman named Amy Carmichael, I'm not sure who she is, but she had this to say. You can give without loving, but you cannot love without giving. Well, it seems to me that we can combine what these and others have said and written about giving and maybe arrive at some notion about what makes a gift a gift. So let me take a stab at this. I'd suggest maybe there are 5 elements of a perfect gift. 1, a gift is something of value. Now that should be self-evident. You don't give something that's worthless, useless, or someone no one would want. And note that value is not solely defined by how much money it cost. My wife Mary and I received a priceless gift from our 22-year-old granddaughter this Christmas. It was a handwritten note that told us how much she loved us and what exactly she appreciates about the kind of people we are. I'd read that to you, but I'd cry. It touches me so much, so I'm not going to do it. It's truly one of the most valuable presents that I've ever received. 2, a gift is freely given with nothing expected in return. You don't give a gift so that the recipient will give you something in return. You've heard the expression, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. There's no gift in that. That's a transaction, not a gift. And this past Christmas, many folks exchanged gifts. And there's nothing wrong with that. But you give me something, I'll give you something. That's perfectly okay. But when we give without expecting something in return, that's more than okay. Way more than okay. A gift is, number 3, a gift is not imposed. It has to be freely accepted. If you give something that I happen to like or value, or if I give you something that I happen to like or value, but you do not, wouldn't be much of a gift. I really like good beer, preferably a porter or stout, or a double bock if anybody wants to make a note of that. Okay, but I'd never give a 6-pack to Mary. She hates beer. I think maybe in our first year of marriage, 56 plus years ago, she probably would have gratefully accepted it and then poured it down the drain when I wasn't looking. And she wouldn't dream of giving me a box of assorted teas. I might drink it, but I dilute it with some coffee. So she gives me beer, and I give her tea, okay? Or she gives me a jar of Miracle Whip, and I give her a jar of mayonnaise, okay? Now, I think I get the better deal of that, okay? By the way, if you ever do that, it's much easier to leave it in the jar before you wrap it up. And, I've tried it both ways, and it just doesn't work, okay? Now, Mary did actually give me a chainsaw once, one Christmas, and that made me cry, okay? And it was a beautiful chainsaw, steel, 16 inches. And I got her tickets to an El Divo concert. I didn't know who they were, but she really appreciated that. I got the better deal. 4, there's no strings attached to a gift. Okay, I'm giving you tickets to high tea at the Ritz and this afternoon, and then you'll go with me to the hockey game this evening, okay? Deal? That's similar to the previous one, expecting something in return, but that's taking it to the next level by exactly laying out what it is that you expect in return. Finally, perhaps most important, a gift that could be considered the perfect gift would be one that is everlasting, never consumed, never used up. This obviously does not apply to gifts of a material nature, to things that we consume, use up, or to activities that come to an end. Those are all good things, they really are, but the most precious gifts of all are those that last forever. And those gifts are obviously of the Spirit. Material things and spiritual things are eternal. You know what I'm talking about. St. Paul wrote of spiritual gifts. That's what he called them. And he said the greatest of these is love. Now, if you recall his words in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, quote, "If I give away everything that I own, and if I hand my body over so that I may boast but do not have love, I gain nothing." Now, Paul could honestly say that because everything he owned was temporal. All his stuff would eventually be worth nothing, but his love is eternal. It will never die. It will never cease to be. And you know the rest of that chapter, it's often read at love feasts that we call weddings, okay? This is how he defined it. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love is not jealous. It's not pompous. It's not rude. Not quick-tempered. Love doesn't brood over injuries, and it doesn't seek its own interest. All of that, all those qualities are spiritual in nature. You can't buy them. You can't sell them. You can't barter them. You can only give them and receive them. And in these very words of St. Paul, love never fails. So there you have it. Now, love is the perfect gift that's accessible to each and every one of us. It's a gift that can both be given and received. And love has, if you think about it, all those 5 features of what constitutes a perfect gift. 1, love is certainly something of great value. 2, love is always freely given with nothing expected in return. 3, love can never be imposed and must always be freely accepted. 4, love comes with no strings attached. And 5, love has no expiration date, never goes out of style, never ends. We call this thing that we do every Sunday, this gathering of ours, the Eucharist. And the term Eucharist originates from the Greek word Eucharistia. And the meaning of that is thanksgiving, pure and simple. Now, we cannot give thanks if there were nothing to give thanks for. If a gift has not been given and received, it hasn't happened. What we give thanks for is symbolized in what we call the gifts of bread and wine, which will be brought up to this altar and become for us the body and blood of Jesus. There are some Christians that believe that to be symbolic. Other Christians, including Roman Catholics, believe that that's the real presence of Jesus in the form of bread and wine. There are different points of view, but I think what we all believe and are all giving thanks for is God's gift of God's self to us, no matter how it comes. We also believe and proclaim that God is love. You find that in the letter of James. And we believe that each one of us, every one of us, is made in the image and likeness of God. Find that in Exodus. So I suppose that we could legitimately say that each one of us is love personified. That is our true nature. When we give the gift of our time, our attention, our compassion, our delight in the other, we are doing so in imitation of God. We are giving ourselves when we are giving love, and there's no finer gift. So as this Christmas season winds down, comes to an end, we do what we always do. We take down the Christmas tree, we put the crib set away, pack up all the wrapping paper, and put the Christmas gifts we've received in their proper places. But there's one gift, the gift of love, that stays with us and lives with us as we begin this new year of 2024. Now, perhaps we could be more cognizant of that in the days to come. When someone needs us, we can be there for them in matters great or small. When someone needs our attention, we can do our best to give them our undivided attention. When someone needs our compassion, we can open our hearts to them. We can love one another by being patient, by being kind, and by catching ourselves when we're tempted to be jealous or pompous or rude or quick-tempered, or when we brood over an injury, real or imagined, or when we put our own interest above those of the other person. If you have trouble remembering all of that, it's right there in 1 Corinthians chapter 13. Thank you for that warning. I'm almost done. Okay. I was going to set alarm for myself, but I thought that'd be kind of crass. Okay. But so you can seriously those things, patience, kindness, and then all the things you shouldn't do. You can check 1 Corinthians and take a look at them again. And you don't have to feel patient to be patient. You don't have to feel like you want to be kind to be kind. Like they say in Marriage Encounter, love is a decision. It's a decision to act in the best interest of the others, not just a nice, warm, fuzzy feeling. So check that out, 1 Corinthians. So we don't have to wait for an after Christmas sale to stock up on those gifts that I just articulated, because they're stored up in our hearts. And they're just waiting for opportunities to be given away. And those opportunities abound in our everyday life.